Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? And what's going on, sports fans? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. Thank you very much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast and also the State of the Game podcast, also being live right here on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we got topics for both podcasts, man. That's the reason why you didn't see the classic State of the Saints podcast intro, because we're actually doing this on two different platforms, man. So for the State of the Saints, we're going to be talking about the NFL draft. We're going to be talking about the Senior Bowl. And we're also going to be talking about Deshaun Watson, man. He wants to trade. He wants out of Houston. We're going to be breaking that down. And we're also going to be talking about some of the top prospects out there at the quarterback position for teams that are in need. But want to thank everybody for filing in. Thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with yours truly. But let's go ahead and start with the New Orleans Saints. Let's talk about the Senior Bowl. For those that don't know, the Senior Bowl right now is taking place in Mobile, Alabama. Some of the top seniors in the country, they get together and they show off what they have, man, to try to elevate their draft stock or, try to solidify their draft stock. And one quarterback in particular that everyone is talking about, especially in the Who Dat Nation, is quarterback Mac Jones. That's right. Who? Mac Jones. All right. They're talking about Mac Jones, the quarterback out of Alabama. He had a conversation with the New Orleans Saints, and we all know how that goes. Anytime Saints have a interview or they talk to a young quarterback, all of a sudden, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Like it's such huge news. Last year, they talked to Jordan Love. I was one of those people, they suckered me in, but they're not going to do that this time for me. Okay. They're not going to do this to me yet again. Okay. The Saints talk to Mac Jones. Every team talks to different players, man. Saints aren't the only player that talk to Mac Jones. And now people are asking themselves and asking me, do I think that the New Orleans Saints need to go after Mac Jones? Look, I'm going to say it like this. I thought about this for a minute, and I thought about it for quite some time about how I wanted to approach this topic. And, the New Orleans Saints are in a really good position right now, when it comes to them having a team, a collection of guys that are leaders, a team that is pretty much solid across the board. You have a combination of a good offensive line, a really good defense, and, you also have some leaders, that can kind of, control the locker room. Do I think that the New Orleans Saints need to go after Mac Jones? Probably not him in particular, but I would be open for the New Orleans Saints to try to draft a quarterback early in the first round. And I just feel this way because, if you draft yourself a quarterback in the first round, you protect yourself from several other situations. For example, the biggest issue that the New Orleans Saints have right now is that they're in salary cap hell, right? So if they were to go out there to sign a veteran quarterback, it's going to really count against their books. And it makes them less likely to go out there to try to add different pieces that they could because they're so cap stricken, right? But if you get yourself a young quarterback, if you get yourself a young guy, all you have to do is worry about getting pieces around him, all right? One thing I always talk about here on the State of the Saints podcast is the fact that I feel like the best friend of a quarterback is a good defense, in a good running game. And the Saints have both of those things. The Saints have both a good defense and a good running game. So I think that this would be a really good time for the New Orleans Saints to draft themselves a young quarterback, because no matter what happens with Taysom Hill, or if you want to get Jameis Winston, you still have some guy waiting in the wings in case you can't get contract situations resolved between Jameis or Taysom. So that would be a smart move to me. Now, for you to basically say, hey, I want to go ahead and start over, I'm going to start with a young quarterback. You have to make sure that that guy is the right guy for your team. You have to make sure that you are making the right decision, because the wrong decision can set your team back, and it will set your team back for years. Okay. I mean, you think about with the San Diego Chargers back in the day when they drafted Ryan Leaf. When they drafted Ryan Leaf, man, when he did not pan out, it set their team back. Okay, it set them back, man, until they were able to find Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. So you got to make sure that you're doing the right things and you're doing the right evaluations. And this is the reason why I feel like, to me, people are talking about Mac Jones, but why are you talking about Mac Jones? Like, honestly, why are you talking about him? I'm always skeptical about guys that play for teams that just have off-the-wall talent, right? When guys are getting 10, 15, 20 yards of separation from the defenders, I mean, you have to be absolutely hot garbage in order to not connect on some of those passes. I'm more concerned about some of those tighter throws. Like, are you creating space? Are you throwing, you know what I'm saying, back shoulder throws? Are you putting the ball where it needs to be when you're having blanket coverage? And honestly, I have not seen that from Mac Jones. I'm seeing guys running wide open and free. And it also helps, you know what I'm saying, that you have the best wide receiver in the country. You know what I'm saying? You also have Waddle, who's the best special teams in a runner. It always seems to me like I'm always very skeptical about guys like that. Do I like Mac Jones? Like, he's okay, but he wouldn't be my first choice. I'm always looking for guys that are competitors on other teams, guys that may have to go up against stiffer competition every single week, and guys that may not be a part of a winning culture all the time, and they have to scratch and bite and claw their ways to victory from time to time. And one guy that I feel like a lot of people aren't paying attention to, while we're out here looking at household names, we're focusing on the Trevor Lawrences, the Justin Fields, and even the Mac Joneses of the world. A guy by the name of Jamie Newman is a guy that I'm really paying attention to. Jamie Newman is a guy that I feel like that can fly under the radar, but he is a guy that we probably could be talking about in the next couple of years being a really solid quarterback. Jamie Newman started his career at Wake Forest, right? Guy has a really big arm. He's tough. He's 6'3", 240 pounds, and he can put the ball where it needs to be. He was supposed to transfer to Georgia, but he ended up opting out, because of COVID-19. This is a guy that I feel like a lot of people aren't paying attention to. He's scrappy. You know what I'm saying? He can get you those extra yards. He can throw the ball down the field. He needs to work on some of his short intermediate throws, but I do feel like this is a guy that kind of is going to fly under the radar, but a guy that has a lot of promise. Put him in the right system, and I guarantee you that he can be a really solid quarterback in the National Football League. A lot of people talk about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is another guy, that has a nice arm. But the only thing about Zach Wilson sometimes, I just feel I question his decision-making from time to time. Like when I watched him up close and personal go up against Coastal Carolina earlier this season. And I got to say, man, I'm just wondering about some of the decisions that he was making. Maybe it was the fact that he was on national television. Maybe it was just the fact that, it was, the pressure was getting to him or something like that. But he's fine. Like when he's in that pocket, he can deliver the ball. He has a really strong arm. But some of the decision-making really bothers me when it comes to him. I do think that with the right system, he's one of those guys that can develop. But I'm not too sure about how he is in the long term. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I like the radical attitude that he has, rocking the Jim McMahon headband, and that's cool and all, but what are you going to do when it's crunch time? You know what I'm saying? What type of decisions are you going to make when it matters most, man? Are you going to be one of those guys that can get the ball down the field and get your team together on a 2-minute drill? Or are you a guy that's just going to be running around in the pocket, losing 20 and 30 yards, a la Josh Allen? Man, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, I like those quarterbacks that a lot of people aren't really focusing on, but these guys that can make these type throws, they can make these tight throws. Those are the guys that I'm really, really focused on, So let's go ahead and see what some of you all have to say here. Let's see. Let's start with Kim. Kim says, "We're stuck. Jackrabbit, pay Laddie, cut Jarrett, Butterfingers." Yeah, I mean that can start. I can see the Saints get Rams quarterback. I can't. Need to leave him where he at. Zordy says, "Who that?" Anthony says, "Yes, we should draft a quarterback somewhere in the draft. Also, every quarterback in the draft has question marks and will need development." Yeah, that's true. That's true. How about Matthew Stafford? Look, I talked about Matthew Stafford before. I talked about how I feel about Matthew Stafford. That's on another episode. If you want to see what I said in deep detail, feel free to check it out. But I like Matthew Stafford. But I'm also looking at the fact that, you got to think about the money and the contracts. And are you going to be willing to be able to give that money up? And is that going to affect what you try to do down the line as far as getting all of your players together? I think that's important. Jared Goff could come to the Saints. I'm not interested. Zach Wilson. Like I said, Zach Wilson, he has a big arm, but some things I feel like he needs to work on. Lawrence is gone. Justin Fields is gone. Yeah, that's pretty much one and two after that. Jared Goff costs too much, and he's a bum. Like, bro, just stop or can sing. What? Like, bro, just stop or can sing. I don't know what that means. Zach Wilson to the Falcons. That would be interesting. I'd rather have Taysom than Goff. Where's Jared Goff coming from? What's this Jared Goff conversation coming from? Did somebody see something in the news about Jared Goff? Did somebody see something in the news about Jared Goff? Because I'm seeing a lot of Jared Goff stuff. Do you think that's true? True. Not talking about Goff. I'm talking about Matthew Stafford. Man, look, Jared Goff is not. No, I'm not interested in Jared Goff as a quarterback of the Saints. That's my personal obsession on it. TJ, get Jamie Newman nice. We got to keep as many draft picks as possible. I think that he can be a really solid quarterback. Just keep Winston. Look, that would be a good idea, but that's not what this conversation is about today. We're talking about the Senior Bowl. We're talking about quarterbacks. We're talking about the possibility of the Saints drafting a quarterback. It's not about, okay, what's the most logical thing to do. If we're talking logically, yes, Jameis Winston probably would be a guy that you want to keep around. I mean, 1 year into the system, he understands, he's been in the quarterback room. I understand that, but I'm just talking about just in case. Let's just say, Jameis Winston wants to go somewhere else due to money. Then what will you do? What you gonna do then? What if you pay him a 1 year contract and he plays outside of it? But at the same time, you have to go out here and get other pieces around him to succeed. So what you gonna do then? So you gotta make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. It's not just as simple as, oh, let's just get him. It's a salary cap league. You got to make sure that you're putting the right pieces in place. And you also got to take into account guys get hurt, right? Guys get hurt all the time. You think, oh, man, we got this quarterback. Quarterbacks get hurt. And what's wrong with having yourself a young up-and-coming quarterback in case somebody goes down that can step in and you won't lose that much production, that you can put a game plan around him that he can be he can be formidable until your quarterback get back. So that's the way I'm looking at it. It's not just open and shut. I just think sometimes we take those type of things for granted. We take backup quarterbacking for granted because for the most part, for the last 15 years, we've had solid quarterback play, and we haven't really counted Drew Brees out of the lineup because he's always been there. That's an anomaly. That's an anomaly, people. That you have a quarterback that just plays week in, week out, game in, game out. That's an anomaly. You got to make sure that you have a quarterback and a backup quarterback because there's a real strong chance that your quarterback might go down for X amount of time. And while you're wondering, when he coming back, he might miss more than 2 weeks. He might miss 6 or 7 weeks. Then what you're going to do for those 6 or 7 weeks? So make sure that you have a plan in place. TJ, name the position you think we're going to draft for sure. Linebacker and cornerback are probably going to be two of the most important positions. You look at the linebacker position outside of Demario Davis, and you really got to do some things in order for you to keep Quan Alexander. But looking at Alex Anzalone, the fact that he was on special teams when Quan was in the game, you want to look at another young up-and-coming linebacker. And you definitely got to look at the cornerback because you got to look at the fact that you need depth, man. Guys will get injured. Guys are getting older. So you need that guy that can step in, right? You need that guy that can probably come after Jackrabbit leaves or whatever, that can play alongside Jackrabbit. Maybe they can alternate. Jackrabbit can move to the inside. That person can move to the outside. but they need a cornerback that can play both positions. No more of that nickel stuff going on. No more of that. Okay, I just strictly play nickel. I strictly play outside. No, get yourself a dual threat cornerback that can do both. Okay, that way you can actually save depth because you can easily just move a guy from the inside to the outside. Don't need to draft a quarterback. Go after a wide receiver. Disagree with that wholeheartedly. Don't need a wide receiver. Not interested, Jesse, at all. They do not need a wide receiver. The Saints are good at wide receiver right now. I think the Saints have a really good wide receiver core. Emmanuel Sanders is good. Michael Thomas is good. Tre'Quan Smith stepped up, played better. Deontay Harris, that guy's doing good. And also Marquez Callaway, who after year one, you have to have a lot of hope and the expectations are extremely high for him. The Saints in years past needed wide receivers, but that should be the last thing on their mind this season. Jared says if the Saints move up in the draft, they could draft Justin Fields. Look, it depends on what you're trying to give up here. Look who that nation. I look at this draft as a resemblance of the 2017 draft. I want the New Orleans Saints to keep as many draft picks as they can. I want them to do their due diligence. This is the year, man. Like when 2017 happened, those young up-and-coming rookies helped pave the way. They became almost borderline cornerstone players right now. You know what I'm saying? They are the cornerstone players of this team. So I think the Saints need a draft just like that. You didn't see the Saints going up and down and getting guys. You didn't see that. You see these guys like, okay, they got him. Okay, we drafted him, and him. They need a draft like that. They don't need to bet the house and the cars and the kids and the dogs right now because you have to look at the salary cap and you definitely you got to look at who's on your team. I think the Saints need to focus in and zero in and do their due diligence to try to replicate what they did in 2017. And I understand it's going to be hard. I mean, you can't draft like that every single year. I mean, if you draft like that every single year, your scout department, whoever's the head of it, is going to be a GM on somebody's team. The New Orleans Saints, they need somebody, to really fully evaluate, to burn the midnight oil, to really understand these guys' strengths and weaknesses and how these guys can contribute to this team. If they don't do that, then you will set yourself back. If you go out here just constantly giving up to try to move up, to try to get one person when it's pretty obvious who that nation, the Saints need more than one player in order for them to get where they need to be. They need help at linebacker. They need help at cornerback. They need help when it comes to the pass rush because most likely you're going to lose Trey Hendrickson. So you're going to need somebody that can come in and that can play and that can give you some type of production. So I'm not all for the up and down movements. I was in favor for the up and down movements in years past. That's because they had like players that okay, you can be a little risky, to go move up and down. But right now, they don't want to say rebuild, but there is a transition going on in New Orleans right now. They don't want to use rebuild because maybe they don't want to put it into their psyche. But if you are thinking about this logically, they're definitely doing a rebuild. So you don't want to lose draft picks, and you definitely want to do your due diligence on the ones that you're going to select. That's just my opinion on that. Still no love for Jameis. Well, I think everybody got love for Jameis. I think that I don't want to say everybody, but I got love for Jameis. This topic has absolutely nothing to do with how I feel about Jameis Winston. That's the way I feel. I'm having this conversation is because the Saints talk to Mac Jones. They talk to Jamie Newman. And anytime the New Orleans Saints talk to a quarterback, I mean, we had a 42-year-old quarterback, it's going to be in the news. It has absolutely nothing to do with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is not the topic of conversation today. This is almost like just wishful thinking or what ifs. We don't know what the New Orleans Saints are going to do. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know how they're going to handle the NFL draft. But if they do get a quarterback, we definitely want somebody that's solid. We definitely want somebody, in case somebody goes down, they can come in and contribute. So why not have this conversation? Has absolutely nothing to do with Jameis. I'm pretty sure Jameis can resurrect his career and become a better version of himself. But, We got to have these conversations. Now we're going to move on, man, for all the State of the Game podcasters out there. But before I do, let me go ahead and read this. That nickel stuff. Thank you very much for the $2. Says no more of me, y'all. Yeah, no more nickel and diamond, man. We over that right now. That's over with, over and done with. All right. But thank you so much for all those that are checking out the State of the Saints and the State of the Game. Both podcasts are live right now. So right now we're going to go ahead and shift gears and talk about Deshaun Watson. We're going to talk about Deshaun Watson because Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. He wants out of Houston, man. He wants to get up out of that thing. Deshaun Watson does not like the way the McNair family is handling things, how they're leaving him out of the loop, how they haven't been interviewing, African-American head coaches or anybody on the coaching staff. And Deshaun Watson wanted to be a part of that process because he is the face of the franchise. He is the quarterback, and he had one of his best seasons as an NFL quarterback. 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 4,000 yards, one of his best seasons ever. It got to a point where when they walked off the field week 17, J.J. Watt walks up to him and says, man, I'm sorry we wasted one of your best seasons. Deshaun Watson is a guy that is well respected among the Houston Texans organization. This is a guy you don't really hear, in the news for all type of nonsense. He's a straight shooter. He's an outstanding young man, and he puts everything that he has on the field every time he comes out there with that Texan uniform on. But he is questioning, is the organization doing the same thing in return? And now he wants to be traded. And now the question is, is he going to sit out if they don't trade him? And if he does get traded, where can he go? All right. So the first thing that Deshaun Watson says is he doesn't want to go to a team. And I want everybody that's looking at the State of the Saints, that is looking at this video right now, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm about to say. All right. Pay close attention. Deshaun Watson said he does not want to go to a team that is going to have to move a whole bunch of things around in order to keep him on their team and not be a victim of a cap hit. So that completely eliminates the Saints right there, okay? So for all those people, man, what about Watson? What about Watson? What about Deshaun Watson? You would have to move some things around. You will not be able to sign some guys back to your team if you select Deshaun Watson. So for all my Saints fans out there that keep on inboxing and asking about Deshaun Watson, keep that in mind. Do you want Deshaun Watson on your football team and really nothing else? You know what I'm saying? Because you can't keep Marcus Williams. Most likely, you would have to really negotiate with Ryan Ramczyk and Marshawn Lattimore. And you wouldn't keep Kwon Alexander. And most likely you won't be able to keep Janoris Jenkins. So will all of that be worth it to get Deshaun Watson? Because who the heck is he going to, who the heck, how are they going to stop anybody, right? You know what I'm saying? You're losing some of the key players on your defense in order to bring this guy in. I like Deshaun Watson. I really do. But as a Saints fan, no, sir. The place that I feel would be great for Deshaun Watson would be the San Francisco 49ers. I think the 49ers would be a really good place for Deshaun Watson. Look, I know they got Jimmy Garoppolo, but there's a lot of verbiage and language inside of that contract that Jimmy Garoppolo, if he doesn't do certain things, he ain't getting that money. It was a very friendly contract. It just looked massive when they talk about it, but a lot of incentives, a lot of things that he needed to do in order for him to even sniff the money that he was getting. I think the 49ers would be a great destination for him. They got a lot of young players. You got Solomon Thomas, Nick Bosa, who's going to be coming back. They both had season-ending injuries. You got Warren at the linebacker position. You got some young cornerbacks that's still on their rookie deal. So you have some guys that's around him. You got a solid running game. You probably, have to get another wide receiver. You can get that in the draft. You got a young up-and-coming Brandon Ayuk. So there's a lot of things that they can do in San Francisco to help Deshaun Watson. Another place I would hate, but it would be the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, that would be a great landing spot for Deshaun Watson. Would I like it? Absolutely not, because that means we would have to play him twice a year. But I think that if you look at the Atlanta Falcons and the fact that they're actually going through a transition too, there's a lot of players that won't be there. Matt Ryan's future is in question right now. I mean, Arthur Smith is a guy that's coming in. I'm pretty sure he wants to bring his own culture, his own style, his own flavor. So that can be another landing spot for him. I would not like to see that as a Saints fan, but if you're a Falcon fan, I know you have to be excited at the possibility. And some of you, some of the Falcon fans, I've heard they say they want to keep Matt Ryan. I understand that for sentimental purposes, right? Matt Ryan is a solid quarterback. I'm not going to diss him. A couple good years, or probably one more good year, probably going to end up in a Hall of Fame somewhere. Not first ballot, but he'll end up in a Hall of Fame. So I can understand how you feel about Matt Ryan. But if you really truly ask the majority of the Atlanta Falcon fan base, I guarantee you they would take Deshaun Watson in a heartbeat. So that's another place I would like to see him go. Another place, finally, to me, would be the New York Jets. Okay, the New York Jets, they got a lot of money to spend. They got Robert Saleh as their new head coach. He's a defensive-minded coach, but he was also one of the coaches that Deshaun Watson wanted Houston to interview for that job. So I just think that he has that going for him. If he can trade for Deshaun Watson, I think that he will be extremely excited about it. They got a lot of cap space. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of players that are free agents that would love to contribute and help Deshaun Watson bring success to New York. So I do feel like that can be a place for him as well. And I just think that he would thrive in New York, and they need a shot in the arm out there in Jets land. The Jets nation needs a shot in the arm. Okay, they watching other teams around them have success, and they want some of that. And I just feel like that would be a good place. But those are the three places that I think that he would do well. Okay, another place that's a dark horse is the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions is also a place that I can see him going, but that's like a dark horse place. But those are my top three: San Francisco, Atlanta, and New York. Okay, my dark horse is Detroit. But regardless if you have a dog in the fight or not, Deshaun Watson is an incredible talent. And he's not one of those guys that you should disrespect. This guy puts his heart and his soul on the field, and there's nothing wrong with wanting this guy to be a part of the process. I mean, you ask some of the best quarterbacks in the league, when their organization is about to make a decision, they're a part of it, right? I think about when the New Orleans Saints were thinking about drafting Patrick Mahomes. They told Drew that they were going to draft Patrick Mahomes. And I remember when the Saints were thinking about getting Josh Norman when Josh Norman was in his prime. And they asked Drew Brees, and Drew Brees was even willing to, take a little bit of a cut in order to bring Josh Norman to the organization. So when you look at it, your quarterback plays a huge role in it. And I just think that the Houston Texans, they're acting as if they are a successful franchise before this guy got here. They were, of course you went to the playoffs, you had TJ Yates and all them cats and Brock Osweiler and stuff, but you also had a solid defense that was carrying their football team, but you never had a quarterback that made people excited when he hit the field like Deshaun Watson did. And it's sad that this guy has to look for another team because they're not doing right by him. Deshaun Watson deserves better. That's just my humble opinion. He deserves better than what the Houston Texans did to him. Watson needs to go to Jacksonville. Jesse, I don't see him going to Jacksonville for the simple fact Trevor Lawrence is the first pick overall. Look, they have a such thing as a sure thing, right? The sure thing is that Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be the next big Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck type quarterback. So I can't see the Jacksonville Jaguars getting a guy that's supposed to be the next big thing, the next sure thing, for a cheaper price just to get Deshaun Watson in their organization, which they have to pay $100+ million to him. I don't see that happening. Now, if there was a quarterback that wasn't a sure thing, that they weren't sure about, then I would be like, well, maybe. But Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be a generational talent. Why would you jeopardize that in order to get Deshaun Watson? He's a good talent, but I can't see them doing that. I can't see it. Lavelle Brown getting laughed at. Watch Watson have a terrible year. Well, it all depends on where he goes, Lavelle. we gotta make sure that we put this into context, right? A quarterback's success sometimes is due to the play calling, the offensive execution, and if the coach is putting him in a position where he can win most of the time. All right, you look at some of these guys out here that probably have a lot of talent. Like, for example, the one that just pops into my mind is Vince Young, right? Vince Young coming out of Texas. We all remember that classic national championship game, Texas versus USC. I mean, embarrassment of talent on that field. And Vince Young single-handedly basically beat the best team in the country with some of the best talent in the whole entire world at that particular time. Those teams probably could beat some NFL teams, how good they were. But Vince Young goes to the Tennessee Titans, and he goes to a coach and Jeff Fisher, who is mostly focused on defense, and then put an offensive innovator or offensive coordinator around him in order for him to succeed. I feel like if you put Vince Young in a different situation with an offensive-minded coach, I think you would be able to get more out of Vince Young, because his first season, he won Rookie of the Year. He was Rookie of the Year, but a lot of the things they were doing, it was him making plays off his pure talent and his skill. And it's only a matter of time before a team starts to zero in on you, especially in your first year, right? Your first year, you come in through the league, you come into the league, you come in like your hair on fire. And you're basically doing it because of what you did in college, combine that with a little bit of the nuances that they gave you in the pros. The second year is when everybody figures out your tendencies, your concepts, this, that, and the third. That's when they figure that out. And that's when you really have to step your game up. You know, you look at and evaluate your rookie year, and then you say, okay, you did this well. Look, we're going to teach you this. He never learned it. Jeff Fisher never really took the time to develop his craft, you know, to develop him as a quarterback. Now, you can say that's kind of combined with the fact that Vince Young maybe was a victim of his own early success, combined with Jeff Fisher not having the patience, being the old school coach. But you need a coordinator, a guy who can rally around you that make you better. Another example, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, first season, Hugh Jackson, head coach. You know, like he comes in, you know, he throws more touchdowns than any other quarterback, you know, in his rookie season. Next year, you know, you have another head coach that wasn't really, you know, all for Baker, you know, like, you know, and basically it was just a Hugh Jackson, you know, disciple or whatever. And he didn't develop Baker and had Baker looking like straight trash. Year 3, they get from Minnesota Kevin Stefanski, and now Baker Mayfield is playing some of the best football he has, because you have yourself an offensive, innovative coach that is willing to take the time and burn the midnight oil to give you the success that you need to be the quarterback. So it all depends where you go, where you develop. You know, so if Watson goes somewhere where it's the defensive-minded coach, but he doesn't give you a great offensive mind, you're not going to win many games, and you're going to take steps back. But if you get a guy that comes in and that's really dialed in and really comes up with a play sheet, some plays called that will help you win your matchups, then I think you'll be just fine. But it all depends on where he goes. You think JJ won out too? Well, I think JJ is a little bit different. You know, I think Deshaun Watson eventually, a couple years from now, will become the Texans if he was to stay there longer. But JJ Watt is the Texans. And if you was to ask JJ Watt, he would want to stay in Houston. He would. But he deserves to go somewhere where he can try to go after a championship. He deserves that. JJ Watt deserves to be in contention. I don't care where he goes, as long as a team that is a playoff team, a team that there's a strong possibility that if you get someone like him, they can get over the hump. He deserves that. But if I was JJ Watt, if I know the type of person and what he perceives to be, I think that he doesn't want to leave. But I think he deserves a shot at trying to go to a Super Bowl. You know, it'll be awful that a guy that is a generational talent, best defensive lineman probably in the last decade and a half, has not even sniffed a guy close to a Super Bowl. That would be unfortunate. He deserves that. He deserves to a shot. Rick Moon says, "What do you think about Winston, bro?" I think Jameis Winston has a lot of talent. I think that Jameis Winston needs to go somewhere, and I think that he needs to go somewhere where he doesn't have to be the guy, which he is already at. I think that the fact that he was the first pick overall, Tampa put a lot of things on his shoulders, but at the same time, they put pieces around him to succeed the way that they should. And I know some Tampa Bay fans right now like, well, you know, look what Tom Brady did with that talent. Look, this is not the same football team. You have some of the players. You got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, right? But you also, I mean, Leonard Fournette wasn't there last year. You know, Gronk wasn't there last year. I mean, the defense, come on, man. Like, you didn't have some of these other young up-and-coming players that you drafted. You didn't have them on the team last year, so stop it. All right, let's not pretend like this team didn't get souped up when Tom Brady got here. So I just think that a lot of pressure was on Jameis. Now that he's in an organization where he doesn't have to worry about being, oh, I'm the first pick overall, people have these expectations of me. He finally can kind of settle down and figure out what type of quarterback he wants to be. And it's really up to Jameis. You know, is he going to be the guy that calls his team more losses than victories? Or is he going to be a guy that's going to settle down and let the game come to him and take what the defense give him? You know, only time will tell. But he has all the tools in his arsenal to be successful. I think they need to get that Alabama quarterback. Well, Nina, you know, a lot of people think that they need to get Mac Jones, you know, from what I'm hearing, like, he's knocking these interviews out of the park. People like his competitiveness. People like his fire. People are saying that he's a leader. They like him what they see. But, you know, like I said, I mean, it's one thing for you to go out there and throw the ball to, you know, the guy that won the Biletnikoff Award, the Heisman Trophy, you know what I'm saying, Devontae Smith. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to throw the ball to the Waddle, you know what I'm saying, the guy that's going to smoke a guy down the field 25 yards. Or you know what I'm saying, throw it out into the backfield. But when you're in the NFL, man, like, you got to be able to make those tough throws. So I have to see more out of Mac Jones. You know, I know he got an arm. I know he can get, you know, throw the ball down the field, but it's a whole different beast. I mean, the coverage is completely different in the NFL. TJ, who is your pick for the Saints with their first round pick, quarterback, linebacker, or wide receiver? Well, I don't see them getting a wide receiver, Christ. I see the Saints getting a cornerback. I can't tell you which cornerback, but I can see them getting a cornerback in the first round. That's what I see the Saints doing. Secondly, I think it would be a quarterback. I can see the Saints getting a quarterback in the first round. Probably somebody like Jamie Newman or Trey Lance, if he's there when they get there. I can see him getting somebody like that. Saints should focus on defense, not a quarterback, honestly. I disagree. This is one of those times where, you know, you go into an offseason and you're not really too concerned about the Saints defense. Now, you know, I mean, any piece that you put on the team, as long as he's a good draft pick, can help you. But aren't you, like, from what you've seen from the Saints defensively this season, aren't you a tad bit satisfied? Like, more in years past, you know, more than you did in years past. Aren't you excited? Aren't you excited about the direction the Saints defense is going? I am. Like, this is one of those years where I'm not upset watching the Saints defense. You know, like, at the beginning of the year, it started off a little rough, but right after week 4, week 5, that's when they started clicking. That's when they started to be like one of the top defenses in the league. So this is one of those times where, you know, I feel like you can actually look at the other side of the football. And, you know, there's not really truly a dire need at any position, you know, and that goes to show you right there, the coaching staff of the New Orleans Saints has done an outstanding job at getting pieces, you know what I'm saying, that help the team. And they also are very good, you know, with depth. So I'm not as frustrated as I would be looking at the defense as I have in years past. You're right, TJ. Our cap limit most of what we dream about. Yeah, well, I mean, the cap is an issue. It's definitely a good a big issue. Know his son that played for South Carolina. Oh, you talking about Casey Horn? Yeah, Casey Horn, man, that's another guy who's I don't know. He might be gone by the time the Saints pick. He's like one of the top cornerbacks in the nation. So I can see him probably being drafted much earlier. He won't be there when the Saints be there. Jameis is not the same when he let me see. He is not the same when he was in college. I disagree. He's exactly the same. Jameis Winston, his last year before he was drafted, man, he was turning the ball over quite a bit. He was having like double-digit interception games. He was like taking a lot of risk. The thing about it is you don't want to take certain elements from Jameis, but you want to kind of reel him in a tad bit. You want to take what the defense give him. Like he was just so adamant on making big plays. Sometimes that was his detriment. So hopefully he can kind of settle down a little bit. If you feel like you can get the ball down the field, go ahead and do it. If you feel like you can get it through that window, fine. But there are going to be times when that defense is going to be blanketing your wide receivers. I mean, go ahead and check it down, man. That's what you got your running back for, that can catch the ball in the backfield and make something out of nothing. Kyle Trask has that footwork in the pocket. Dude gonna be nice down the line. Yeah, a lot of people talking about Kyle Trask, quarterback from Florida. Heisman Trophy finalist, but I don't know. I'm not interested, man. I'm always interested. I'm always wondering, like, where these guys come from. Like, I'm always wondering, like, where these guys be coming from. Like, they just pop up out of nowhere. They have like one good solid season. Next thing you know, they top 5. Like, I would have to see more out of him. And the last time we seen Kyle Trask, wasn't the best game in the world for him. It was awful, absolutely awful. Jameis didn't have an O-line in Tampa, and he was asked to throw the ball downfield a lot. Yeah, Josh, that is true. And I think that can be helpful to him, being a New Orleans Saint. But still, man, you got to get the ball where it needs to be. J.C. Horn, thank you very much. I think I said Casey Horn. Thank you very much. That's J.C. Horn. Checking Canal Street Chronicles, they be saying Loomis looking hard to keep Trey as a continual component to our moving forward D-line strength, trying to find ways to keep him. Well, I mean, that's Mickey Loomis, man. Mickey Loomis, he's going to try to give you a lot without giving you nothing at all. I mean, I've seen him talk about different players all the time and what his intentions are, and the next thing you know, they're gone. So they could want to keep him, but I'm not choosing him over Marcus Williams. I'm not. I'm always skeptical. I am always skeptical of guys that give you 1 year production when they've been in the system 2 and 3 years. I'm always skeptical of that because I'm always wondering, like, what is your driving force? Like, what are your intentions? Like, even like with Von Bell, as much as I like Von was okay. You know what I'm saying? Like the first couple years. Then when that contract year, he forcing fumbles, he catching interceptions, his head on, you know what I'm saying, on his hand on every play. I'm like, okay, but too little, too late. Like one thing you can't say about Marcus Williams, right? Rather you like the guy, not rather you still holding 2017 against him. He's been pretty solid at the safety position. He's been a guy that's been a ball hawk. He has 13 interceptions, in his last 4 years, right? Like he's a guy that has become a better tackler. He had his best tackling season. Like this guy was out there playing much, much better. And I'm always looking at guys like that versus a guy that probably had one good year. My way of thinking is do it again. Do it again. And then you'll have my attention. But just 1 year production, when you've been in the system 3 and 4 years, I'm always skeptical about that. But also, man, what do y'all think about Deshaun Watson? What do y'all think? What do y'all think about Deshaun Watson? Where y'all think he can end up? That's another question. And finally, man, like some of the top, some of these top quarterbacks, like you look at Trevor Lawrence, you look at Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance. These are the guys that a lot of people are talking about. I think it's pretty obvious that Trevor Lawrence is going to go to Jacksonville. they pretty much did a Photoshop with his picture on their website. I mean, pretty much a sealed deal at this point. You got Justin Fields, who a lot of people feel that he might end up going to somewhere like Atlanta or something like that, or even Carolina. Maybe Carolina isn't sold on Teddy Bridgewater. You got Mac Jones, you got Trey Lance. Trey Lance decided to only play in one game that was like an exhibition or a showcase. A lot of people feel like that is going to be one of those down the line picks. And Mac Jones is kind of up in the air, like what are they going to do with him? So I do feel like these guys are some of the best quarterbacks. Jamie Newman, I feel like a lot of people would be talking about more if he actually went to Georgia and played, but he didn't. So these are the guys that are the top guys, and I think all of them going to have good, solid careers. But it all depends on where they go. It all depends on where they go. Mac Jones, New Orleans Saints fans are going crazy for him right now. I can understand that. A lot of unanswered questions. Like I said, can you get the ball down the field? Were you just in a good system, lights out, unbelievable wide receivers and running backs, and you were just a recipient of that, or can you really ball out? Trevor Lawrence seems like the sure thing. Justin Fields is a gamer. He's a guy that I feel like is going to be a scrappy quarterback, a guy that's never going to give up, guy that's going to fight. I look at whatever team gets him, they're going to be happy. Trey Lance, the only thing that he has going for him is the fact his athletic ability. If you're looking at the school that he went to, even though North Dakota State is one of the best colleges, in Division II, I just feel like, I feel like he should have played this season. I just feel like he should have. I think he probably, if he would have played, he probably would be one of the top players in the country. But Justin Insta get my cash $2 says Saints should tag Trey Hendrickson and trade him. I don't think they can tag him. I don't think they can. I think he's just an unrestricted free agent. I think that's how it goes. Dexter says, man, I'm getting me one of those sweaters, and I think Mac Jones should get drafted by us. A lot of people like Mac Jones. Like I said, I understand. I've seen arm talent, but I just think that there's some guys out there that's better. There's better than he is. That's just the way I feel. There's a lot of guys that are better than what he is, and I've seen out of some of these quarterbacks that I'm looking at and we're evaluating. I would put him probably like around 5 or 6. When I'm looking at some of these quarterbacks out there. And finally, before we get up out of here, I hate to have this topic as the last one and leave on such a sour note, but I think it needs to be talked about. I'm talking about offensive lineman Chad Wheeler, a guy that got arrested over the weekend for viciously assaulting his living girlfriend. It got to a point where he actually knocked her unconscious. She woke up when she came to. He basically told her, like, oh, you still alive. And some people are saying, Chad Wheeler, he dealt with mental issues, bipolar disorder, this, that, and the third. Look, I understand that this guy isn't the most popular person in the world. Like he isn't a superstar. He isn't the top offensive lineman in the league. But I just feel like any guy that puts his hands on a woman is a sucker. Okay, straight up. I don't care if you're a superstar. I don't care if you're practice squad. If you're putting your hands on a woman, you're a sucker. And I just feel like your career needs to be taken away from you. I just feel like talent sometimes enable these guys to do some of the things that they do. I just think that they think they're exceptions to the rule because they get to play such an elite sport and make such elite type money that they don't even look at the consequences because they were so good at their position, because they can give an organization something that the organization kind of turns their heads. And it's insane. And think about it is you look at all these media outlets, you look at everybody talking about this guy, but you never really hear them talk about the lady, you know what I'm saying, and who the person that is probably going to have some type of mental anguish due to this. And you got to think about this, man. You think about this guy is on the offensive line, right? The offensive line's job is to keep a defensive end away from the quarterback. He's pushing back a guy that's about 270, 280 pounds that probably can bench press 400 and 500 pounds. You're pushing this guy back and making sure that he doesn't hit your quarterback. Now, imagine that type of guy going and slapping or hitting a woman, right, with straight force. Could have easily killed the lady. Could have easily killed her, man. And I just feel like, man, there's no place for that. And I understand, like, they talk about these mental issues, but look, we can't like pick and choose this, right? Like if it's somebody else, like a superstar or something like that, oh, he know what he was doing. But if you see another guy, oh, he have a mental condition. Like, nah, man, what's wrong is wrong. What this guy did was wrong. What he did to that lady was wrong. I honestly feel like he need to do some jail time. I don't think that it just should be a slap on the wrist. I'm not buying it, man. If I go and I rob a store, right, and let's just say I rob a store, I take $2,000 in cash, and I walk up out of there, I don't hurt nobody, right? And then I end up getting caught, and I'm like, well, I took $200 in cash, right? Yeah, I took it, but I didn't hurt anybody. You know what I'm saying? Am I still gonna go to jail? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't know my intentions. Like the guy deserves some jail time. You can't be going around here slapping around people and knocking them unconscious and still be around here. Just like I feel about with Ray Rice. I feel like Ray Rice should have did some jail time. You know what I'm saying? I feel like some of these other guys, they don't get jail time because of who they are. So teams, I don't know if they allow them to get the best lawyers. I don't know if these teams are giving out hush money. I don't want to put them on the spot, but I do know that there's no place for this. And these guys need to get it together, and I understand it's a macho sport. You got to be game every single time. You got to have this whole masculinity thing going for you and stuff like that. But just walk away, man. Just walk away. Look, we all been in this position before, right? We've all had arguments with our significant others to a point where we're so frustrated, we want to punch something. You know what I'm saying? Rather it be the wall, even, you know what I'm saying, like some of the thoughts that you have, even like, man, bro, ooh, boy, if you wasn't, like, if I didn't love you, if, like, you have those thoughts. It's best for you to walk away. It's best for you to walk away, man, because you're going to end up, when you do something crazy, you're going to end up thinking to yourself, man, I shouldn't have did that. Man, I shouldn't have did that. When logic sets in, you are going to realize that it was a big mistake and it could cost you everything. So I think that this is a learning experience for a lot of people, not just football players. Like, if you're in that type of situation, just walk away, man. It's not going to help you. It's only going to make things worse. And I know it's hard to walk away sometimes, especially like when people like talking so much noise to you, man, talking so much smack. Oh, you ain't nothing, man. You all no good. I done had better men than you. I done had better women than you. I get it. I get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that ego. But think about what you're losing, man. Think about what you can possibly lose. Think about what this dude is about to lose. Like, I look at somebody like Kareem Hunt. Right? I mean, you got your brother or your friend pulling you back and you just breaking free, you know what I'm saying, to try to get to the girl. Look what you lost, man. I mean, you got a contract, which I'm glad the guy was able to, get the help he needed and stuff like that. But Kareem Hunt was playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy could have had opportunity of going, you know what I'm saying, and going to the second Super Bowl. But he lied to the organization, ended up getting cut. So it is not worth it. It is not worth it, man. For all my people out there, walk away, man. Like, don't allow that, the ego, you know what I'm saying, to cost you your life. It's just what it is. And this guy, like I said, he's not a household name. He's not a guy that is a trendsetter, a person that's changing the fortunes of an organization. But this is real, folks. Domestic violence is real. You know, there are people out here that right now that are fighting to try to get some level of normalcy in their life because of some of the things that they have endured. You know, slaps across the head, you know what I'm saying? Mental abuse, you know what I'm saying? Like physical abuse, mental abuse. And mental abuse is important too, man. Like that's something that needs to be paid attention to, because sometimes the mental anguish, the things that people can say can inflict more damage than even what your body can absorb. So we got to be careful with that too, man. That's why, you know, it's important for us to be able to walk away and be centered, right? We got to be able to be centered, man, and know how to direct that frustration and that anger. I know sometimes you wake up in the morning, may not feel like it's the best day. Somebody cut you off in traffic. You get to work and you just feel like it's going to be the worst day ever. And sometimes you might cause yourself yelling or being frustrated at somebody you had no intentions on being frustrated with. You just frustrated with life. But you got to be able to be centered. You got to be able to take that deep breath, and you got to be so confident within yourself that you can't walk away from those situations. So let's all learn from this situation. Let's not put ourselves in this situation. And let's think of just like Chad Wheeler most likely is not going to play in the NFL anymore. If he does, I'll be highly shocked. Let's think about what he has lost because of a stupid decision. And, you know, there's something obviously wrong with this cat. You know, for you to say that you want the girl to bow to you and she didn't want to bow to you, like what kind of world are we in right now? Like what the hell is wrong with you, dude? You know, but like I said, learn how to walk away. Learn how to walk away. You know, and I guarantee you when you walk away, you have an opportunity to think about what took place. And, you know, it'll make you feel much better that you did. But any dude that put his hand on a woman is a sucker, straight up. Is a sucker. Like, I don't feel like anybody needs to put their hands on anybody, whether woman or man, but I don't know, man. You know, I just feel like I just feel like a man shouldn't put his hand on a woman, straight up. Nobody should ever make you that mad to put you out your position like that. And if they do, have enough confidence and ability in yourself to walk away and get the hell up out of there. I'm going to read a few more comments and then we're going to get up out of here. Jump Out Jay says it's always PTSD with a white boy. I'm starting to notice a trend with that too, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm noticing the language, you know, that they have. You know, when it's something that does involve the Black community, I do feel like, well, let me put it to you like this, and maybe I can explain it to those that may not know. When people think about the Black community, they already just think about somebody that's misfortunate, you know, poverty, anger, frustration, you know what I'm saying, gang related stuff. That's what they think about. When these guys go out here, they feel like, oh, you're just them, you know what I'm saying, like they just violent, right? Because they grew up around violence, you know, and there's this thing, you know, they say you are what your environment makes you, right? If you stand in a hood, then you are a hood. If you grow up around violence, then you are violent. So there is some language about that, but there is a softer side of what people of different colors go through, right? Oh yeah, PTSD. Oh, his parents got divorced when he was 12. Like, I don't feel like that should be an excuse for anybody. You know what I'm saying? Just like growing up in the hood should be no excuse for nobody to put no hand on anybody. You know, sometimes people have to take responsibility for their own actions, and it shouldn't involve anybody else. That's the first thing when you see like some of these celebrities say something stupid on social media. Oh, I was taking pills that night. I was taking something for my mental condition. I was out of it. I was drinking. Like, bump all that. We all are in control of what we do. You know, like if you're not, then you definitely need some help. So I just feel like the language does speak very differently when it comes to culture and race. And that's something that we need to address too, right? Wrong is wrong. I don't care what color you want to put on it. Anybody that puts their hands on someone, that is absolutely, unless somebody is trying to take your life, is wrong. No matter what color it is, no matter what color you are, it's wrong. And that's something that we have to take accountability from. I ain't trying to hear about that, you know, because I just feel like we're becoming more knowledgeable about mental conditions, but now it's so easy for us to put the mental condition label on everything now, right? And it's a slap in the face to people that's dealing with these conditions. You know, you can't, like, oh, I got bipolar disorder. Do you really have bipolar disorder? Or are you just saying that because you're trying to gain sympathy for the actions that you do, right? You know what I'm saying? But there's somebody out there that's really dealing with bipolar disorder that can't help themselves. There are really people out there that's dealing with PTSD. Like, you interact with some of these military soldiers and stuff like that, and these guys will tell you, these guys have seen such stuff we ain't never seen before in our entire life. Now, if we was to see some of the things that they endured when they was over in Afghanistan and Iraq, you know what I'm saying, and Vietnam and the Gulf War, like, and I just feel like that's a slap in the face of those guys that want that level of normalcy in their lives and can't get it because of what they endured. And we just put a nice little PTSD label on stuff just when we do something wrong. I feel like that's a slap in the face to everybody that's really enduring that and really fighting and sitting in a corner shivering, wishing that they could have a life that wasn't like the one that they have right now. So I do feel like we need to focus on this and really like come to like grips and have a level of sympathy for those out there that are really going through those things and not just looking at these conditions as a cop-out. Because there are people out there that are really dealing with these situations, man. They're really dealing with it. I mean, I think about my brother who did 3 tours of Iraq. I think about him, man. I love my brother. I think about some of the things that he can't talk about, right? The things that he endured. And for people to say, oh, I got PTSD. You know what I'm saying? I think about like some of the guys that I know, you know what I'm saying, that have been over there. You know what I'm saying? And getting, you know what I'm saying, have to go to the VA hospital to get therapy and big mailboxes full of medications that they have to take. And yet, oh, you know what I'm saying, I have PTSD, you know what I'm saying? Like people are really going through these problems, man. And they're not just letters to some people, right? It's not just ADD, it's not just ADHD, it's not just PTSD. This is life for some of these people. So I feel like if people aren't really going through these things, if you haven't really been evaluated and took the time out before all this stuff happened, for you to be sitting down on somebody's couch and at one time or another somebody told you these things, it's a cop-out. Like you can't do it that way. It's about accountability, man. Straight up. Like, I ain't trying to hear about your PTSD after you slap around a woman. After you slap around somebody. I don't want to hear about that. Because if it matters that much to you to get help, then you should have got it. You know the signs, man. You know the signs. You know your way of thinking. Try to get that help beforehand, before something seriously happened. Something seriously happened. I think about, like, I just did a podcast, the TJ Knows Wrestling podcast. I'm talking about Chris Benoit. And I feel like this is kind of, going with what we're talking about right now, because for those that don't know who Chris Benoit is, he was a really good wrestler. But back in 2007, he killed his wife and his son, and he hung himself, and a lot of that stuff strong, was the reason why it started was back in 2005. His best friend, Eddie Guerrero, died. He tragically died in a hotel room of a heart attack, and he was never the same since. Instead of Chris Benoit like dealing and coping with the death of his friend, he decided to go back to work. And he avoided those situations, and a lot of people around him avoided them too. And maybe, like, you think about, maybe some people probably seen him in a workplace because they said he became like extremely distant and he really didn't want to talk to anybody. And he really kept himself after that time. So where were the friends at? Or in his case, why, like, he knew like some of the things that he was writing down and the feelings that he had. If somebody would have wrapped their arms around him and said, man, look, I think you need to get some help. Or if the organization was like, man, you know what, look, you may not think that you need to go sit and talk to somebody, but we're going to get you some help. What would have happened then? Maybe Ed Guerrero, unfortunately, wouldn't be here, but 3 people would be here right now. Chris, his wife, and his son. So I'm a firm believer in people, and I got so much respect for individuals that go out here and get the help and be brave enough to say, look, I got a drinking problem. I got a drug problem. I got a mental problem. I need to work these things out because the way that I'm thinking, my behaviors, they're not normal. And I'm not just going to wait till I'm losing everything. And like a guy that's in front of his wife's house after she said she had enough, I can change. No, don't wait till the I can change moment. Change before that I can change moment actually takes place. But like I said, he's not going to be in the NFL anymore, and deservingly so. TJ, the New Orleans Saints should draft quarterback that plays for North Dakota State. He's a beast. Yeah, Trey Lance is a guy that a lot of people has a lot of high expectations for. All depends on the team that he goes to. Big Ben raped a girl still in the league. Jump out, Jay. I'm just gonna be real with you. I'm just gonna be real with you. I don't think that had absolutely nothing to do with race at that particular time. It had everything to do with production. Afford me this, okay? All right. This happened before the Ray Rice tape came out. See, the thing about it is, and this is so crazy that we have programmed ourselves to do this. But we have programmed ourselves to, if we don't actually see it on video, then it doesn't exist. Like you think about this, and when something is on video, it's indisputable. You know what I'm saying? Like it's irrefutable. Like it is something that is right there, right? You saw it. Like when Ray Rice hit his then girlfriend, now wife, in the face, knocked out cold, you saw that. And you saw it. And it put an image in your head like this guy is a monster. Let's look at Big Ben Roethlisberger. It was he said, she said, right? And when you have the he said, she said element, it automatically becomes is them versus us, or us versus them, or my word versus theirs. Who's right, who's wrong? Oh, she just want his money. Oh, she just know who he is. And even if he did do that, all of the white noise that's surrounding that, the actual event gets lost in the sauce. So I think that's the difference. When you have Ray Rice who hit his girl and knocked her unconscious, and you got that on camera. You have Kareem Hunt, you know what I'm saying, as you can see, hit the girl in the face. We automatically program our minds to say he's a monster. But when we hear about things, when there is no visual evidence, we have a tendency of turning our antennas off of it. And I just feel like if this was the world that we were in right now, Big Ben Roethlisberger probably wouldn't be playing in the National Football League. But it was during a time where people were turning their heads to these type of situations. And it was about production. It was don't ask, don't tell. And Big Ben Roethlisberger was one of the last people to be the recipient of that. If it was happening like it is today, there's no way in hell Big Ben Roethlisberger will be playing football. That's just me. Let me see. Should we bring up things about Kobe Bryant? Shut your mouth, oh my God. So should we bring up things about Kobe? Okay. Is it right to bring up stuff about Kobe Bryant? Well, look, I love Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a great basketball player, but that is something that is in his history. That is something that happened. Like that's something that can't be avoided. And the thing about it is when a person dies, right? When a person dies, we have a tendency of just looking for the good that the person did, and the bad stuff that they did kind of gets overshadowed. And I just think that people are looking at this, as a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, he did this, but nevertheless, he was such a great player. And I think that, I just think that they're doing this out of respect for his wife. You know what I'm saying? Because even though he did this, he was married to Vanessa Bryant at the time. And I guess, you know what I'm saying? They looking at it like, do we constantly play his, you know what I'm saying, his infidelities out? And do we constantly have to talk about this? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's such a tragic event. So maybe that's what people are looking at. But I definitely feel, like you need to, address those type of situations. Now, I don't think that it needs to be like the full, you know what I'm saying, like story of his life. But, I think that if you want to discuss that, I feel like it's well within your rights to do so, just like it's well within your rights to talk, about Ben Roethlisberger. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, he's a multi-time Super Bowl champion, but you can't, you know what I'm saying, you can't talk about one without the other. Sign Jameis to a 2-year deal and draft Trey Lance. Thank you very much for the $2. I just think that, I think that that would be a good idea. I think that Trey Lance would thrive in the Sean Payton offense. Man, I gotta say, I was wondering what TJ would talk about once the season ended, and the show has actually been even better. SOTS is my new favorite show. Great job, man. I appreciate it, Armin. Thank you very much. This is the state of the Saints and the state of the game. So, like I said, if you don't hear me talk about, Saints news, I'm also live right here and doing a podcast for the state of the game. So, man, we're going to be talking about Saints football, but we're also going to be transitioning and talking about, other sports as well, man. As y'all can see, man, different topics, like real topics. And look, I get it, man. People want to talk about sports. People want to talk about football and basketball and stuff like that. But look, this is a reality, folks. And, I know sometimes we want to escape the realities of life, but what happens when the things that you escape reality with, becomes the reality? Like you gotta talk about these things. And there's women out here hurting, man. Man, shouts out to my coworker, man, Tori, man. I did an interview with her for her podcast. She wanted me to be a moderator, and she was talking about just, the abuse that, she dealt with and how it took years for her to even get back on social media, man, because she was just so afraid about guys, the guy that she knew or was dating, who knew people and probably was going to try to find her some way. Like, I think sometimes when these situations go away, they go away in our minds, but the person that had to deal with this is still trying to pick up the pieces. And I think we have to have discussions like this, man, like regardless if it's happening in our life or not. And we can't be selfish to a point and say, oh, well, it's not happening to me, so it don't matter, because there's going to come a time in your life when you're going to want sympathy from somebody. And, I think about leaving New Orleans back in 2005 due to Hurricane Katrina, and how we wanted the whole world to show, to recognize the fact that the U.S. government neglected the people in New Orleans. It took those people's sympathy and pull at those people's heartstrings in order for them to assist and help us to get some of the things that we need, or try to give the government a boot in them, in order for them to react. So I always have a place for, I always have a place for that. I always feel like we got to be sympathetic to the things that are going on. So that's just the way that I feel about it. Who that nation just joined? Yes, Kyle Trask from Florida. He may not be there when we pick. Yeah, maybe. TJ, I seen you hitting that chopper, my boy. Yeah, man. I was my wife's up in there making food or whatever like that, and she had the Alexa on, man. She had the baby playing, so I just came across the floor, doing the motorbike, man. So just having a little fun, man, with the family, and I thought it was funny, so I thought I'd share it with you all. Can't even talk about Kobe rape case or you get threats. Well, you can talk about anything you want to talk about, but unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in. No matter what we discuss, rather it be politics, rather it be situations like Kobe, situations like Big Ben, situations like Chad Wheeler, you're always going to have some level of resistance, right? Because there's always going to be somebody that thinks completely different than you. So you can talk about Kobe and you can talk about Ben, but there's always going to be that resistance, so you can talk about anything you want to. I don't want people to say you can't talk about nothing, but there are like consequences. I mean, that's just the world that we live in. There are consequences to your actions. There are going to be people that will stop at nothing to try to discredit you. And there's going to be people out there that might give you an amen corner. You never know. But you can talk about anything you want to. You talk about anything you want to, man. Like, and I feel like it's justified. That may sound crazy, but look, there's an old church song. It's mostly sung at funerals. And the old Baptist church folks up in here, y'all know what I'm talking about here. The name of the song is "May the Work God Done Speak for Me," right? It's mostly sung at funerals, right? And the words would say, "When I'm resting in my grave, there's nothing that can't be said." But I disagree with it, right? There's plenty that can be said, about you. Your life, is on display. What you're doing right now is going to be the blueprint or the actual bio of your life. So even though Kobe was an outstanding basketball player, right? No, Big Ben is an outstanding quarterback. What happened in their lives reflects them in some way. Michael Jackson, if we're going to talk about performing, Michael Jackson, one of the greatest, if not the greatest entertainers in history. But you can't talk about Michael Jackson without talking about the Neverland Ranch, right? You can't. So it is a part of their legacy. Whether we want it to be or not, whether we want to wish it away or not, it is a fact. Brandon says, what do you think Jameis is worth? 20, 25 million or more a year? About 20 million. 20 million. You give him a 1 year deal, Brandon. You give him a 1 year deal. You give him a prove it deal. And if he goes out there and he sees expectations, then you can go to the table the following year. Brandon says, enjoy the podcast. Always TJ from Toronto, Canada. Brandon, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And for all those out there, please, please subscribe to the State of the Game podcast YouTube channel. We went over 100 subscribers, so I'm excited about that. But I need the people to support the State of the Game podcast, the ones that support the State of the Saints. I understand that you want to get your Saints news, but we're going to be talking about different sports over there. We're going to be talking about basketball. We're going to talk about football. We're going to be talking about all different types of things. And I really am asking you to help grow that channel. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about the future of that channel. And I love talking about the Saints, man, but I love sports in general. You know what I'm saying? So there are times where I want to talk about other things, but I didn't have the platform, or I wanted to make sure that I give my all to the State of the Saints podcast. And as we transition to the off season, there are going to be times where we have to talk about other things. So the State of the Game, check it out, subscribe, support. Thank you. I don't know if the Saints would pay that much. I think they would. I think they'll give him a one year, $20 million deal. Dexter says, I'll subscribe, TJ. Dexter, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Cross says, I like Zaven as well. Big linebacker, decent in coverage. Well, I want decent. I want above average, Cross. I think we didn't have enough of decent. I want some above average coverage. When we got to get on them Pelicans, I got a paragraph's worth of complaints. I think a lot of people do, man. Like, they're definitely playing, they're definitely playing bad right now. I don't know what the heck going on right now. I don't know if it's the system. I don't know what's going on. But it does look like Alonzo took a step back this season. It does look that way. I don't know what's going on with that, but they need to do something. In my opinion, Saints should target a linebacker. Zaven Collins from Tulsa is a baller. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I have to take a look at Zaven Collins, but I don't like the term decent in coverage. I don't like the word decent. We done had decent in coverage, and that's not cool. Winston is live right now with Mike Vick. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Thank you very much. On Bucks fans. Say OG, I'm old school, new to this chat stuff. How do you highlight people's name? Yeah, you have to get with the OG for that. And finally, we're gonna end with Kim, which is suffice, man. Kim been holding down the State of the Saints podcast for a while here. Says, you think Rodgers won out? Yeah, I think Rodgers does won out. I think Rodgers likes the players that he played with. I don't think he really cared that much for the organization. So I think that him going out there playing the way that he did this season, most likely he's going to be an MVP. The reason I feel like he was playing like that is because, one, he wanted to prove that they made a mistake drafting Jordan Love so early in the draft. And number two, he just wanted to show people, man, I still got it. All right. You think that I lost it. You think that I'm phoning it in. Look what I can do when I'm motivated. So he had one of his best statistical seasons, and he's definitely going to win league MVP. So I definitely think he wants out. I just think that he feels like it was a slap in the face, especially on that play for you to not go for it on fourth down. And on top of that, I mean, you drafting earlier in the year, you're drafting a guy that's supposed to replace me. So I do feel like Aaron Rodgers wants out. The question is, will the Green Bay Packers trade for him? Aaron Rodgers, I can see him actually playing a waiting game. It's not like he's hard up for bread, but I can see him possibly, getting traded, And if he does, then that's one of those guys that can be on the Saints radar. Don't know if they'll get him, but, that would be interesting this offseason. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints and the State of the Game podcast. And be sure, once again, for all my State of the Saints podcast subscribers, please subscribe to the State of the Game podcast, where we talk all sports. And also, for those that are checking out the State of the Game podcast, subscribe to the State of the Saints podcast that's available to you. We talk New Orleans Saints. We welcome all fan bases. We got fan base of Denver Broncos, Detroit Lions, Buccaneers. If you want to come in, contribute to the State of the Saints, feel free. Both are available, once again, youtube.com. Search The State of the Saints, The State of the Game. On Facebook, The State of the Saints. Search The State of the Game. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. And for those that are wrestling fans, I just put out another episode of TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast, and we focused on the Canadian Crippler, the Rabbit Wolverine, Chris Benoit. So that is probably that's probably the longest podcast I've done focusing on a wrestler. I think, it needs to be talked about. We talked about the career of Chris Benoit, and I also asked the question, should Chris Benoit be in the Hall of Fame? So that's a hot question and a hot topic. So you don't want to miss that. That's for all my wrestling fans out there. That's on YouTube, youtube.com. Search TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast. And thank you all so much. Tomorrow on the TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast, we're going to have the Royal Rumble prediction, man. And I'm excited about that because I got my 10-year-old nephew, Kalen, who wanted to do the prediction show. So I told him I'll be glad to do it with him, man. So you don't want to miss that. Me alongside my nephew, Kalen, breaking down the Royal Rumble to all my wrestling fans out there. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. To all the State of the Saints podcast viewers and listeners out there, all I got to say is who dat, and the State of the Game podcast viewers and listeners out there, all I got to say is game on.